Hey there, my friends. Eric Andreas, your guitar sage here, and today I want to give you a 30,000-foot view of playing guitar. So if you're a beginner, even if you're not a beginner, this is going to give you a great understanding of what you have been learning, okay? And in fact, it will probably help, even if you've been playing for a long time, okay? There's a lot of wisdom in this video, okay? I'm not bragging or anything. These are gems that I've discovered along the way, over 30 years of doing this. So very important stuff here, okay? And it's going to help you. So let's talk about it. Basically, what I want to do is I want to cover three things today, and I've got my notes right here because I don't want to forget anything. I want to give you a 30,000-foot view of playing guitar. I want to talk about some myths. I want to tell you what you can do about these things in order to overcome some of the bits that are true in regards to learning guitar. Okay, so let's talk about this. And I want you to watch this video in its entirety. It's a little bit long, but I promise you it's jam-packed, full of great stuff, especially the end. So don't just skip this other stuff. Just listen up, okay? So here we go. So let's talk about a 30,000-foot view of guitar. So think about this for a moment. When you get in an airplane and you go up 10 or 20 feet, 50 feet, 500, 1,000, 20,000, 30,000 feet, you're seeing a different perspective of where you live, your town or your state or what have you. And you're able to see things in perspective, okay? You don't get to really see the detail, but you get to see things in a whole new perspective that you have not seen before, okay? And so think about that, or being up in a high building if you've never been in a plane or what have you. Being able to see this in a totally different perspective. This is what we're going to be talking about in this video, okay? And when I'm thinking about guitar, I always break it down into three categories: fretting hand, picking hand, and music theory, okay? And you can pretty much put anything in those three categories. And in fact, when you separate them like this, it really helps with your learning because just like a computer program, your brain is only able to handle so many different programs at once. So if you're thinking right hand, left hand, and music theory all at the same time, and you're new to a particular technique or something like that, it's going to seem almost impossible because it's like opening up three really robust programs in your computer and expecting them all to run well. They're just not going to, and the brain works similarly, okay? So we're only able to focus truly on one thing at a time. Multitasking is a bit of a misnomer because we can only focus on one particular thing, okay? Now, so let's talk about this. So when I mean, you know, your picking hand, I'm talking about strumming, picking, whether you're left or right hand. Talking about everything that's happening here. Okay, that could be finger picking, strumming, any particular technique that you're using this hand with. Okay, fretting, obviously, any sort of technique that's happening over here. And when we're talking about theory, or we could just say musical knowledge, when theory, we're talking about the knowledge of music or the study of music, but we're talking about knowledge in any way in regards to music or guitar, okay? So think about that all the time when you're learning. If you can break it down to those three and then start bringing them together on a particular technique or a particular song or what have you, it's going to help a ton because you're really going to be able to hyper-focus on specific things. Okay, let's move on to myths. So there are a lot of myths floating around, have been floating around since the beginning of time regarding guitar, but especially with the advent of the internet, there's a lot of crazy myths out there and a lot of things that people say that are just not true. Why do I know this? Because I've been playing for over 30 years. I've been teaching for over 30 years. I've taught thousands of students, tens of thousands of hours, millions of video views, yada, yada, yada. You've heard it all. But I've taught a lot. I've been immersed in this, and I've never seen any one of these myths be true. Okay, so that's why I feel very confident in being able to say these. Okay, and now I got my list here. I'm going to say them. I'm going to go right down them, and I'm going to just do real briefly. I'm going to talk about them because I have videos for these inside my course. Okay, inside the free 30 lessons that you can find in the link below. Okay, first off, too old, no rhythm, tone deaf, no coordination, short, fat fingers, and no talent. Okay, let's talk about these really quickly. Too old, total crock of crap. I have folks who are 20 years old saying, is it too old for me? Am I starting too late? I have folks in their 70s and 80s starting, not even questioning it, going in headlong and practicing and having a great time. okay? And in fact, as our brains develop, as we get older, we're able to become more focused. And in fact, so age sometimes is even a benefit, okay? As you'll discover as you're getting older, okay? So age has nothing to do with it. It just doesn't. If you want to believe any of these, you can, but I promise you it will be to your detriment of playing guitar. So even if you don't really believe me, just believe me. Believe that I know what I'm talking about and headlong into playing guitar. And then later on, you can come back and say, I'm sorry, I didn't believe you, Eric. You were right, okay? Because I promise you this stuff is true. Okay, so let's move on. No rhythm. Rhythm is a learned thing. Some folks are better at it than others, just like the next one, which is being tone deaf. Learning to play by ear is a learned thing. Why do I know this? Because I've done it. Because I was not very good with my ear in the beginning, and now I'm much better. And as I play more, I'm finding my ear being better and better and better. It has everything to do with practice. Yes, in the beginning, some folks are better at rhythm and tonality and that sort of thing, better than others. That has probably a little bit to do with DNA, but the more you think that way, the more you're painting yourself into a corner where you're not going to be able to, you're going to believe in these myths and not be able to make breakthroughs. So don't even believe them, okay? Yes, some folks are going to have more of a proclivity to being good at particular things, but practice trumps that every single day of the week, including, I forgot the guy's name, but that 5'2" basketball player who won the slam dunk contest many years ago now, but had nothing to do with height. The guy was slam dunking and impressing everybody. Seeing this in a million different things as well. Folks with no arms playing guitar, playing with their feet, that sort of thing, the blind, everything. So what have you. Don't worry about tone deaf. Don't worry about no rhythm. These are things that are developed, including coordination. So no coordination. That was another one, right? It is developed. Everybody feels awkward playing guitar at first. Every single person ever in the beginning of time, from Jimi Hendrix to Eddie Van Halen to everybody, it feels awkward at first, okay? It just does. Of course, it doesn't look like it now when they're playing, but if you had seen them in their first month of playing, it would look just like you. Okay, the first week of playing, the first day, etc. Everybody has to start at the beginning. Okay, so this is good news for everybody because anybody can be whatever they want on the instrument if they do the practice and hopefully if they have the instruction. Me, right? Short, fat fingers. Everybody thinks their fingers are too short and too fat in the beginning. That's because playing guitar is awkward, and I go into all this detail in the free 30 lessons course. That you can find the link below. Those are the first 30 lessons that I teach all my students in Nashville. Would normally take close to a year to learn and probably close to $1,000. So make sure you take advantage of that. Short, fat fingers. Everybody thinks they're short, fat fingers at first, but it's just not true. And the more that, in fact, some of the best jazz players have short, fat fingers, but it doesn't keep them from playing. It has everything to do with technique. So even folks that have really long fingers, they'll say, my fingers are too long to play. It's just people think this way because when you go to play the guitar, it's very unnatural at first. You haven't done it. If you've ever walked on a tightrope for the first time, that feels awkward. Or walking on stilts, or riding a unicycle, or playing the drums, or anything that you've done for the very first time, it feels awkward. Just does, because you haven't done it before. Your brain's not acclimated to it. Make sense? Of course it does. So the more you do it, the better it's going to sound, okay? The whole no talent thing. I have a video called Talent versus Practice. You can find that here on YouTube. I believe that's in my free 30 lessons as well, in more detail. But the whole idea is that you have to be born with talent. Total crock of crap. I know some folks will argue with me, but those are the folks that aren't seeing any improvement because they're really buying into this myth. I don't even address folks like that, and I'm not to be dismissive, but I've just argued it so many times, and I know I've seen it. I've seen someone who's terrible become incredible by practice, and I've seen students come in who had so much promise and looked so talented in the beginning, they just didn't practice, and they ended up being completely mediocre. So I'll take someone who practices any day over someone who has quote-unquote natural talent. And so when I say folks don't have talent, what I mean by that is if Jimi Hendrix or Eddie Van Halen were born with talent, then they wouldn't have had to practice as much as they did. At 1 year old or 2 years old or 3 years old, they would have been They're virtuosos, but they weren't, just like you and I aren't, okay? It takes practice, okay? Do some folks maybe have a little bit of an edge? Maybe, but so little. And if you really are thinking that, you're just looking for excuses, and it's going to diminish your playing. It's going to cut the legs out from under you from being a great player. So don't even believe that crap. It's a crock of crap. Don't believe it. Let's move on. So what are some things that are really going to happen? Your fingers are really going to hurt. Not a whole lot. You're not putting nails through them. They're going to be sore. And, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to feel some muscle pain. There are some real things that do happen when you play guitar. And that's because you're doing totally new things. You're pressing on these strings. You're not used to doing that. You're holding your hand in ways that you're not used to. You're using muscles that you're not used to, okay? So it would be very strange for you to go to the gym that you haven't been to in a long time or never been to, bust out a bunch of push-ups and sit-ups and everything else, and the next day not feel any pain at all. If that happens to you, then please let me know, because you're superhuman and you need to have your own show and be a guru on YouTube and that sort of thing. Bottom line, when you use something for the first time, or if you haven't used it much in the beginning and now you're using it a lot, you're going to notice some changes there. So don't worry when you feel the fingertip pain. There's not a way to circumvent this other than not playing guitar. That's not why you're here. You want to play guitar. So play guitar. Fingers are going to hurt a little bit. Sometimes in some cases they hurt a lot. But just back off a little bit and give it a little bit of a break. Come back to it. The more you practice, the more calluses that you're going to build, the less your muscles are going to hurt, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, let's keep moving on. So 3 things that you can do to help your whole process is take your time, enjoy the ride, and understand that learning guitar should be fun. Okay, so take your time. I've got videos for this, especially in the free 30 lessons. Take advantage of that, my friends. There's no anything, there's no credit card or anything. Take advantage of that. Enjoy the process, okay? Enjoy this whole ride. If you're always worried about getting to the next step of playing guitar, it makes it not fun. And guitar should be fun, okay? And just enjoy the ride, take your time, and the process is going to be fun. Now, in summary, I'm going to let you go here, but in summary, what all this means is you can do anything that you absolutely want to do on this guitar with the right resources. Hopefully I'm that for you. Practice and time, okay? You put those 3 together and it makes a magnificent soup. In anything that you want to do, not just guitar, in anything that you want to do, you can excel and be the best in the world if you put enough time, enough patience, enough energy into that particular thing. So with all that being said, not all of us want to be the best guitar player in the world. So that's okay, but we can excel. So understand that you can do anything that you want on this instrument. Trust me when I say this. I've seen hundreds of students do this, and on the internet I've seen more than that, okay, probably thousands. So enjoy the process. If you need anything from me, you know where to find me. I'm Eric Andreas, your Guitar Sage. I've got tons of free videos here. Make sure you take advantage of my free 30 lessons that I teach all my new students here in Nashville. I've created this specifically for you so that you can learn for free anywhere around the world. The link is below. Would love to help you out. I'm Eric Andreas, your Guitar Sage. See ya.